Have you ever had a deck just fail to do the thing? At one point or another, we all have. A deck just doesn't want to do what we set out for it to do, either because the build was off, or we didn't draw the right cards, or the concept just wasn't as impactful as we hoped. But what did you do after that? What did you do with that information? Did you give up on the deck, or did you go back to the drawing board and rebuild? It's the reconstruction of a deck that many players don't even attempt. If it didn't work once, it's not worth making work. That seems to be what I hear a lot. I fell into this myself recently with my Emodane the Pyrohammer deck. Gameplay linked up top. After playing it a few times, I realized that not having anything consistent out of the command zone, a synergy piece in the command zone rather than any kind of enabler, became the deck's biggest problem. If I didn't draw the cards that Emodane needed, like burn spells for instance, then the deck just didn't do the thing. But rather than tweak and tune the deck, I gave up on it. When what I should have done was listen to my deck, let it tell me what it wanted to be. And it didn't want to be a burn deck, it wanted to be a storm deck. I didn't listen to my deck, I was trying to force a round peg into a square hole. I shouldn't have forced it to be the initial concept. I liked the cards in the 99, but it just felt like Emodane wasn't right as commander. I should have swapped the commander to a Rionia Fire Dancer or a Birgi God of Storytelling. But instead, I gave up on the list and tore it apart. A shame, and something I see a lot of players doing. So how do you fix this? How do you prevent this from happening? How can we salvage decks rather than throw them out and tear them apart? Here's what I propose. Play the deck a few times. Whether this is with people, or whether this is playtesting, running a few test hands, but isolate what works in the deck and what doesn't. What interactions felt good? For instance, did you really like the way Rocco Street Chef interacted with the table during a game? Giving each player an extra card each turn, while getting potentially 4 tokens and 4 +1/+1 counters, actually got people really excited and playing. And it worked really great with some token doubling effects. That felt fun. In this case in particular, Rocco Street Chef wasn't even the commander of the deck that I was playing, but I found myself wanting to see them every game. That's my deck telling me something that I wanted to listen to. Maybe this should be a Rocco deck. And listen to your deck's weaknesses too. John Irenicus' Shattered One was a really fun concept that I made a budget brew around, linked up top. But in reality, the deck fell apart the moment that I lost my commander. The deck was just bad creatures that I wanted to give away, but once I had no way to give them away, the deck just felt bad. What I should have listened to is that the deck telling me that the concept was too reliant on the commander. The deck should function without him and give me other approach vectors like making tokens that I could give away instead of just too many creatures with downsides. This way if I couldn't give them away, I at least had functioning creatures. And then there's listening to how your deck plays at a table. Ages ago, I brewed a Nevinyrral Urborg Tyrant deck that was focused on wiping the board over and over, and while it worked for me, I saw that everyone else hated playing against it. I took it apart for that reason, instead of seeing what I could do to salvage it. Was there a way to adapt the deck to where it did the thing, but also wasn't miserable to play against? I should have listened to the deck telling me that it probably wasn't a core concept that was player-friendly. Adapting the deck to be a Yennet Cryptic Sovereign deck would allow me to keep most of the deck intact while introducing a concept that wasn't entirely oppressive to the table. We may start with concepts to build a deck by, but if it doesn't work, then it's not a total write-off. See what's worth salvaging and what's worth using. See how the deck can change and evolve. Do we add a color? Do we remove a package that felt out of place? Or do we add in more pieces to places that felt good in practice? Listen to things like your mana ramp and card draw. The nuts and bolts of your deck often speak the loudest. Did you run out of cards regularly? Or did you struggle to play enough lands? Or were you playing on or behind curve because you just didn't have enough ramp and rocks? It's small signals like this that your deck can send to you that you need to listen to as well. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Instead, tweak and tune. Cut 3 cards and add 3 lands. Remove 2 high mana value cards and replace them with 2 2-mana card draw spells. Add a few rocks that synergize with your core concept. Your deck can't be dessert all the time. You do need to eat your veggies first. One more personal example here. My favorite deck of all time, Too Many Gyrudas, was recently telling me something very loudly as I've made some recent changes. You see, with the Doctor Who cards coming out, I've added a few new cards, like Auton Soldiers, Flesh Duplicate, and Cyber Conversion. All amazing cards that I've been very excited for and immediately shuffled into the 99 to accommodate. But I missed something that my deck wanted to tell me. Each of these cards has 2 blue pips to them instead of the cards I removed like Reality Shift and Snapcaster Mage and Mirror Gallery that had 1 or no blue mana requirements. I made the changes, but I didn't adjust my mana base accordingly. I played a few games with the new list, and I found that I was only hitting 2 blue mana when I needed it about 50% of the time. So I listened to the deck rather than get frustrated about it. I removed 2 swamps for 2 islands and immediately found that that small change meant that I was hitting 2 blue mana much more consistently. My deck told me what it needed, and I just had to take the time to listen to it. So my advice to you, take the time to listen to your deck. Let it tell you what it wants to be. Maybe you'll fall in love with what it is rather than with what you wanted it to be. As a reminder, NOVEMBREW is coming. I'll be doing a deck-a-day challenge all month in September in support of Extra Life and SickKids Children's Hospitals. If you want to support this cause, there's a link in the description. Keep an eye on the shorts feed for a new brew every single day in the month of November. You can find my full updated Too Many Gyrudas deck list linked below at my sponsor, Moxfield. Make sure to follow my profile while you're there too. Also, be sure to pre-order your Caverns of Ixalan singles and sealed product at my sponsor, Face to Face Games. Use my promo code MECHANIC for 5% off of your order. While you're here, hit that subscribe button and check out these other videos on the channel. Thanks folks, and as always, good luck and have fun.